What's going on, everybody? It is Furkyz from Mutton, and today we are going to go over two additional materials. The first being how to make a item bounce, and the second being a clear coat. The focus on the bouncing one is solely going to be on planes or spheric objects, and the clear coat can be applied to anything. The main goal here is to show you how to change the bounce level for applications like a heartbeat or something breathing. And the clear coat would be for soda cans, vehicles, or ice. So if you're making an ice hockey game, how do you add a little bit of texture but also make it super glossy while the players are going around on it? So to begin, we are going to start with the clear coat item. I think this is the simpler of the two. Let's get started. Since we're kicking it off with the cube, I just wanted to quickly go over the clear coat and what this actually entails. So on the left side, you are going to need to switch the shading model to clear coat rather than the standard one. If you click on default lit, go down to clear coat, you have the option to fully adjust what the actual material properties are, which is quite nice. That will affect the main material node, and then you can plug in your textures, 3-value constant, as well as your nodes. So to begin, we are going to create an entirely new texture by right-clicking, adding material. We're going to call this m_clearcoat2 and get started. So as I just touched upon, the first item you're going to want to do is change the shading model on the left-hand side in the material properties to a clear coat. This will allow us to drastically change what the item looks like. If you re-click action clear coat, you can see that it's evidently more shiny. That's exactly what we want. We're going to start with a 3-value constant to influence our color. It can be done by clicking number 3, and we're just going to choose a pretty similar color to make sure we're consistent. If you plug that in, you can see that you've already created a pretty glossy value. Theoretically, you could just call it here and not proceed any further. However, we do want to be a little bit different than everyone else, so we're going to add a little bit of a texture and interpolate or lerp it, which is going to be exciting. So we're going to click back into here and make those changes now. By having the main material node have the updated items for clear coat, roughness, as well as the offset, we can add a few items. The first being a texture. So if you press T and click texture, I'm going to double click here, try to add a texture. Let's do cloud noise. You can add this one, perfect, and add a constant, add a multiply here, as well as 3 more constants here and here, as well as the bottom one right here. Additionally, we're going to have to add a interpolate or lerp, press L, and this will be our general layout. I'm going to organize these items a little bit more just to make it a little bit clearer for you. Think these will influence some of these plugins. These will all tie out into the lerp and the multiply. So what we're going to do first here is go and combine the texture as well as the color, and then add a value into the alpha. I'm going to do this as 0.5 just to start. I feel like it's always a safe play to do that there. And then we're going to click connect the multiply into these nodes and plug that into the base color, which will be pretty consistent. You can see that it's changed a little bit. You can see that there is a little bit of cloud noise. If we go and now change a few more things like the roughness, it's 0, nothing really changes. If you do 1, nothing really changes either. The goal here is just to have it be present, so we're going to do 0.75. And then down below, this is where a few of these changes are actually going to be quite critical. The first one being the clear coat. We want this to be the value of 1. As you can see, as it's 0, it's pretty just flat, dense. Let's get that change by pressing 1. Now you can see we're back to the clear coat value. And then the clear coat roughness, we don't really want that to be present, so we're going to do 0.101 on this constant, and it's just gleaming. So perfect. We've combined a texture and our color in a lerp node, multiplied it, plugged it in the base color, and then applied a few constant nodes into a few of the plugins on the main material node. We're going to apply, save that, as we go back, you can see that we're pretty close to what we're looking to do there. That is how you make a glossy material with a little bit of texture behind it. Obviously, you can continue to layer and manufacture it how you want. Do you want it to be emitted? That option is there. But that is all for the glossy / clear coat item of this episode. To flip back into the primary one, I think we just use a different color. That's why it looks a little bit different, as well as the item. Yeah, we use the same cloud noise and the base color, and all the values are the same. Just believe I use a different color here to create a little bit of a darker shade. So that is all. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of this tutorial, and let's transition to the next one, which is applying that bounce. We flip to the bouncing material, how you can make something expand and contract, kind of like that heartbeat or breathing feature that we talked about. This one's going to be relatively simple. However, you can get pretty complex with this. There were multiple tutorials on the Unreal Engine / Unreal Engine Fortnite pages. However, I went with the simplest one just to show you today how you can apply it using the time node as well as a material layering. So let's get started and show you an example of how you can do this. Firstly, you're going to click and create a new material. We're going to call this m_bouncy instead of bounce because I don't want to overlay material labeling, and we're going to get started. So firstly, we have our standard items here. Nothing will change this time in the main material node. We're going to add a few things off the bat. The first one being the 3-value constant and adding the colors. The goal is to make it be the same, so there's going to be relatively consistent there, as well as a vertex norm. So if you right click, you're going to have to type this one in here, vertex normal WS, as well as a time node. These two will be important just for that expansion / contraction, as well as the frequency, as well as adding a few additional nodes. The first one being a sine node, which will influence a value of frequency, and then the multiply node, and replaying that in once more here. So this is going to be our general structure to create that bouncing effect. Firstly, we're going to plug in the color value into the base color of the main material node, and then plug in the vertex normal WS into the multiply. This will be plugged into the world position offset. We're going to have time multiply, combine those two items, and then into the world position offset. We're going to save this and apply it just to show you what happens when we first do this. As you can see, it's kind of there, it's pulsating, but we want to get something that's like the heart is beating. So how do we go back in and do that? We're going to re-expand here and mess around with a few items. The first one being the sign. What if we did this as 100 and just save that quickly to show you what the sign node does? Interesting. It did nothing. Let's go the other way here. It's always good to learn the extremities, so let's do 0.05. As you can see, that has a little bit more of an impact. It impacted the material. See what it does. Oh, we're jiggling. That if you want like a vibration or a generator kind of effect on a box, that's a good way to go, but that is not what we're looking for. So what we're going to do here is let's just split this back to 1. Keep it easy. Save it. And there we go. We're back to our normal impact. Now we're going to roll down this chain. So obviously we have the time. You can change material expression time. How often do we want to do that? Ignore pause, make a description. But the primary focus is going to be on the multiply node. So what if we did 0.01 here on the multiply aspect? So starting small. Nothing's really happening. Let's get back in there and change it to the extreme. Let's do 100. As you can see, it drastically changed what is on there. Let's get back in here. Wow, that is not ideal, and that is way too fast. If you wanted to gain a player's attention on an object, maybe that's a good way to go. But we are gonna just do 15. Let's keep it calm and simple. Try to save the pacing of it, make it look like it's breathing, and boom, look at that. We are at equilibrium with the one on the left here. So to go back into this, now we need to create that underlying texture. How do we go from this color to actually adding a additional item. So we're going to add a lerp node as well as a new texture. I'm just going to click T, and I actually can't remember which texture I used here, so we're going to do a quick look. Forgive me for blanking as we go. This is called the Plumpton Cobble. Dope. Let's get back into it. So we clicked on that. We already applied our texture node as well as our lerp. So I'm gonna add that here. Plug this into there, and then add this into the base color. As you can see, not the best action. Let's undo that. Let's actually define our texture, and this is going to be interesting. But we got the Plumpton Cobble present. Perfect. Plug that in, and there we go. Now we got a pretty neat expression. We're going to save this. Forgive me, misclicked there. And let's get back into it. So boom, look at that. We now have our pulsating item with the same cobble texture. The only difference here is I believe we utilized a different color on the cobble, and that's why we have that color variance. As you can see, this one's a little bit darker. Let's use this one and see if it realigns. I believe that was our issue there. Sweet, look at that. Yeah, we're back to it, and we have officially successfully mirrored the object. Thank you for watching part 2. To capitalize on more tutorials, this was lesson number 3, just to show you how to create a clear coat with the texture under it, as well as a pulsating object. Both are critical in map design, how to grab a player's attention, bring something to life, and also create those cool looking floors in garages, hockey rinks, or trying to add that nice shiny effect to soda cans and cars. So thank you so much for watching. Please have a wonderful day. This has been Furkyz from Mountain. Continue to explore these things on your own, challenge you to try other textures, etc. So thank you all. It's been Furkyz.